Good evening and welcome along everyone to round 2 of the PSGL F3 Championship here in season 32 on the PlayStation console on the F1 22 game. My name is Felix and I am very happy to be here tonight at a circuit that has been introduced in 2004 onto the Formula One calendar and has since then been a part of it in every single year apart from 2011, where we had to skip this race unfortunately due to some political reasons. But it is on the F1 22 game, it is on the F1 22 calendar, and it is on the PSGL F3 calendar here tonight for round 2. I am very excited to be here. Sadly, Jake is not here with me tonight. He couldn't make it, sadly, but I will try my best to get you guys through this race as entertaining as possible. We've got a couple of people missing here tonight, one of them being our previous race winner, Ates, who is unfortunately ill, so get well soon, Ates. Hopefully he will be back on track next week. But tonight we actually do have Rick here, who was supposed to be missing, but it turns out he's still here, which is a good sign, finishing P3 last time out in Spain in the first round, and he will be looking to climb even further up the grid this week. But obviously we have the other Mercedes of Mali still here, who is also on an out lap in his Mercedes. He took second place last week, could have won the race, and I still think it was a little bit of a strategic error he made there when he saved all his ERS for a final attack. But then Ates did very well to defend himself on that last lap of the race. Kryptonite really close to track limits here around turn 4, and this track featuring 15 corners. Even though I wouldn't really count the last corner as a corner, as the little right kink it is out of turn 14, that is actually a separate corner. But yeah, F1 counts it as a corner, so we will as well. And Kryptonite is going to be the first one to finish his lap if he does not invalidate. Track limits shouldn't be that big of an issue, apart from turn 4, where we have seen it in real life a couple of times already, that drivers seem to struggle to stay within the track limits. I remember last year in real life where Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen fought for the lead and the race win, where Max Verstappen extended the track limits and with that had to give that place back to Lewis Hamilton. So that could be a big talking point here today, as Kryptonite sets the first benchmark of the session with a 127.9. His teammate Rick half a tenth behind. Not too far off with that lap time. Let's see who else is about to finish his lap. It looks like Mali is not far from finishing. His lap was very wide there on the entry curb into the final two corners into turn 14, but still managed to not invalidate his lap time as he climbs up, but only goes third fastest, half a second down on Kryptonite. Kieran goes up into P3 with the first lap times flying in now. Firefox climbs up to P3, takes it away from Kieran now. Zane also across the line, 4 tenths off, but it looks like Kryptonite has set quite a good benchmark here. Fedispiga, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, I hope so. Climbs up, no, never mind. Max takes P3. It looks like P3 is up for contention the most so far in this quali session, with the first runs being done. And as William C goes on to the second row of the grid for now, Mobarak seems to not do his lap. Ghost King, no, either. Let's see, Johan, I think, is going to be the next one to cross the line for his first lap of the day, with the number 7 on his Aston Martin. Into the final corner we go here. And that little kink you just saw right there is actually called turn 15, and there goes Johan into P5, and we have a new provisional pole of his teammate Jabraka, who puts his Aston Martin on the front row of the grid with a 127.8. nearly a tenth ahead of Kryptonite, as I, in the meantime, has gone onto the second row and took third fastest. Let's see if Damiano is out on a lap. It looks like he is. He's using his ERS and he's coming out of turn 13 here onto the straight, which shouldn't be that big of an overtaking opportunity, because then you lose the DRS that you really need here, because we've got 3 DRS zones here, but the only actual overtaking opportunities are into turn 1 and turn 4. Damiano only goes 13 fastest right now. Let's see, Fruitful, nope, he decides to not set another lap time. Let me quickly just check if the sound is alright. As soon as something is off or I'm too quiet, the stream is too loud, whatever, just let me know in the chat and I will try and fix that for you as quickly as possible. There we go. Looks like sound should be fine. Like I've mentioned, if you have anything to say in terms of stream quality or just general feedback, just let me know. Jonathan seems to be a big fan in the chat of Jabraka, as we see Black Box in his McLaren with the number 74 on his car, going through that tricky turns 9 and 10 if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong here. Let me quickly just check if that is actually correct, because I sometimes get those wrong, but I'm actually pretty, yes it is, turns 9 and 10 was correct. We've got the traditional layout around this track. Obviously it's the only layout we have on this game, sadly, even though Formula 1 raced on actually 2 different layouts around here, with the 2020 outer layout, which was nearly an oval and saw one of the few occasions where Formula 1 was lapping under a minute, as Black Box sets in a time that puts him up to P7, well inside the top 10. Good stuff from the McLaren driver. Kryptonite out on track. See if a Ghost King is he out on a lap. I'm not quite sure. It looks like he is. Yes, he is. Through turns 9 and 10. Very easy to lock up the inside front here, but he manages to keep the car very close to the apex without locking a single tire. Very nicely done from him here. And then you can see how wide over that curb on the entry he is going. Oh, and that was a snap of oversteer that cost him his lap time completely. So he will remain in 16th for now. Ethan has not set a lap so far. He is about to start his first timed lap. Let's see if Kryptonite, yes, Kryptonite is about to start his second lap then, and let's see if he can regain that provisional pole position here tonight as he prepares to start the second flying lap of the day in his Alfa Romeo. Heartbreaking zone down into turn 1, quickly into 4th for the extra grip, then a quick shift up to 5th to once again put the traction down, not lose the rear end, and then once again a very wide entry into turn 4. Here is, like I mentioned, basically the only opportunity where you could actually invalidate your lap time, and oh, whoa, Kryptonite loses the car coming round turns 5, 6 and 7. Don't know if he clipped the curve just a little bit too much, or if his setup is just a bit more loose than from some of the other drivers, but that looked very unsteady. Luckily he was able to keep the car more or less under control on the track, managed to stay away from the walls, which could have hurt his chances of a good qualifying position. Let's see what Ethan can do. He sets a purple middle sector. Good stuff from him on his first flying lap in his Alpine, with the number 94, like Pascal Wehrlein used to have on his car in his stint in Formula 1 in 2016 and 17. Around the final corner he comes, and he is crossing the line with a 127.8. 0.9, sorry, and he goes on to second. What can Jabraka do on his second run? No, he's just started one, sorry. Let's see, who else was on the lap? Was it the second Aston Martin? No, it wasn't. Fruitful has just finished his lap. He is in 9th currently. It's not easy to stay up to date or to keep track of everything that is going on if you are commentating alone, especially in qualifying. It is not easy because drivers are setting lap times left, right and centre, and you more or less gotta figure out who's on a lap, who's on an out lap, who's on an in lap, and everything, who's on how many laps. But I can tell you, Jabraka is on a lap through turns 9 and 10. He goes now, takes a wide entry to then open up the steering, and Federspiger, I'm really not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he goes on to provisional pole, takes it away from Jabraka. Can he reply immediately with a good lap time? Slightly misses the apex coming into turn 11, and then the run up the hill here. He clips the curb on the inside. The car takes it as it should. Azai goes into P1. Johan takes P3, so ahead of his Aston Martin teammate at the moment. But Jabraka is about to finish his second lap, and let's see where he ends up. Slightly misses the apex, but was still quite tidy through that last corner, and he comes across the line. What is it going to be? The clock stops at a 127.5. Wow, that is a pretty good lap time, and that puts him onto provisional pole by 2.5 tenths of a second. Great stuff from him here, as I'm not sure if he will have anything still in his back pocket to reply to that on his final run. Maybe everyone probably will go out onto their final set of softs for this quali session, as I think nobody is out on a lap. No. Or is Black Box on a lap? I'm not quite sure. Need to see if his BRS is being drained. I think he is. At least he's taking the flying lines, and I wouldn't see a reason for that happening without him being on a lap. So into the third and final sector goes. Purple middle sector from him. I'm not quite sure if that is actually correct, but he's definitely 2 tenths up on his personal best lap time so far. And he is about to cross the line now in his beautiful orange McLaren with the numbers 74, very close to invalidating, but he doesn't quite do so. He keeps it on the track with at least 2 tyres. He comes across the line and goes onto the third row of the grid. Good lap from Black Box here. Firefox has invalidated Zane. Only just finished his lap. It's a 28.4. I think he's just started one actually. Looked like a little lock up there into turn 1, but still doesn't look like the worst of lines he's taken through there. Yeah, he's definitely out on a lap. Into turn 4 we go, which is a bit off camber, especially towards the middle part of that corner. He goes up by more than 1.5 tenths. That would put him up a couple of positions, but if he can improve even more, that would be even better, and could maybe even put him inside that top 10, maybe even towards the front, who knows. But he just needs to keep it tight. He takes a wide line, but that's too wide, and he goes over the curb on the outside, and that is his lap done. And he should have enough time to go back into the pit lane, put on a fresh set of softs, and then go for a one-time lap at the end. Ghost King not out on a lap either. Looks like he's not got any fuel left. Looks like one of those laps was out of schedule. Overrock has just come out the pits. Same with Victor. I've got a yellow flag in the third sector. That's why I can't really see how many. Yeah, now I can see how much time there is left. 2 minutes 50. Yeah, so slowly but steadily, the driver should come out as Firefox puts his Red Bull into second place with a solid lap. That's probably going to be his last lap of today's qualifying, and he will now have to pray that no one else improves that much. It's going to be a maximum of P2 for the Red Bull driver, but who knows? We still got some pretty quick guys behind him. We're still able to improve on their laps. I'm pretty sure Kryptonite out on his lap is going to be the first one of those guys who were in the top group at the start of quali to set their final time, and once again he loses the rear end and he has to abandon his lap. That was an invalidation as well. So Kryptonite seems to be struggling with a bit of grip in this quali session. Luckily Johan behind him is not on a lap, or is that... No, that is Johan. Looks like Kryptonite is not really confident in his car so far. Looks a bit wobbly, a bit unstable through the quick corners, and also right now out of turn 4 I think he just took a little too much curb, but that happens when you don't have the full trust in your car. Max is about to start one, Fruitful as well. Anru has just started one. Same with Victor in his Williams. Let's see what he can do. Currently down in 14th place. Hopefully he can improve on that. Marlborough won't. He hasn't validated. Maybe he's got time for one more lap if he has got enough fuel on board. As Victor comes through turns 5, 6, 7 and then 8. The little hairpin down the hill and then up the hill towards turns 9 and 10. Looked quite tidy without a single lock up. All the tyres kept rolling, and that is what you need through there. And he catches up to the Haas in front. I hope that Haas won't sorry, I'm lost for words right now. But I think that's Marlborough who just abandoned his lap. Hopefully he won't get in the way and distract the Williams, but he picks up a cheeky little slipstream, pulls to the outside once again to be prepared for the final corner as best as possible. Clips the inside curb, hits the apex quite nicely, and then he comes towards the line. It's flat out from now. It won't be pole, but where is it going to end up? A maximum of 12th place, and now I think drivers are setting laps left, right and centre. I think Anru just got into P5. Yes, he did. Let's see what Azai and Jabraka both out on laps as well. So is Johan, so is Black Box. No, Black Box has just improved, I think. No, he's just started one, sorry. It's a bit confusing when you're alone. Max is about to finish his final lap. Firefox is then done with qualifying as the first driver. Same with Fruitful then, who is only 13th. Where does Max go? Into P3, only just behind Firefox in the Williams. Jabraka puts in another fastest lap of this quali session with a 27.5. Great lap from him. What can Azai do? Azai is way down on his lap time. Fedespiga is a bit quicker. Kryptonite goes into P2 after he finally managed to then set a lap without invalidating or spinning on his second and third try. But here comes Fedespiga. Let's see what his final sector is going to be like. He needs a bit more of an improvement than he had in the middle sector. What can he do now? Out of the final corner he comes. Rick goes into P4, but where does Fedespiga go? Into P2, ahead of Kryptonite. Good lap from him there, but he can't quite beat Jabraka, who seems to have pole position secured. Andrew is way down on his time. That's not a proper attempt. Ethan in 6th right now. I think he just finished his lap. Yes, he did. Black Box still out. Went way too wide. Kieran not setting his final lap time. Neither is Victor. And Zane is going to be the last one to cross the line. Only 14th for the Alpine driver. His teammate up in 6th place. And that is it with qualifying, everyone. Jabraka takes pole position by quite a comfortable margin of 1/10. Still not that huge when you consider how long that track is in comparison to some of the others. 1/10 is not that much. It's still beatable, and especially in terms of setups, some people might have gone for a slightly quicker setup in qualifying and less of a race setup. And also race pace differs from quali pace always, as we all know. But that is it for qualifying. Jabraka takes pole position then in his Aston Martin ahead of reserve driver Fedespiga and Kryptonite, who managed to set a proper lap in the end then with a very good 3rd place, considering he only did 2 laps. That is pretty impressive, so he should be someone to look out for in the race ahead of Firefox, who picks up a nice 4th place. Both Red Bulls and Alfa Romeos doing really well, with Rick being in 5th after his podium finish. Hopes for a podium are not gone at all this race. Ethan takes a 6th place in his Alpine ahead of Max, Andrew and Johan in the 2nd Aston Martin rounds of the top 10. And I'm very excited for this race. Should be an easy one-stop for the drivers. Nothing too special around here. And I'll just use that little break because, once again, we won't have the formation lap because of the glitch, sadly. So I'm just going to use that time to rest my throat a little bit to then be prepared for the race start. As we are about to start this second race, with 5 lights coming on now. And we are underway in Bahrain. It seems to be a good start from Jabraka. Fedespiga got a little slow off the line. Kryptonite might have a chance to attack him down into turn 1 as Jabraka covers the inside line, but not quite. There goes Fedespiga into turn 1 on the inside. Slight contact. He pushes Jabraka wide. Kryptonite is there to pick up the pieces. Once more contact, and Jabraka's round through turn 2. And that is a horror start for the pole sitter, who's dropped down to nearly dead last. Azai also with problems. Andrew as well. Everyone has, all those 3 drivers have spun, but it's Kryptonite ahead of Fedespiga, ahead of Rick, and then Ethan Blackbox with a brilliant start. I think he started in P11, who is now up to P5. Great stuff from the McLaren driver, and he might even be able to pick up even more places. But Kryptonite seemed to have gotten away a bit better, but in the second phase where you needed that extra bit of traction, he didn't have it, and that's what saved him in the end. Fedespiga a bit too eager into turn 1, dived it down the inside, slight lock up on the inside, and then he pushed out wide Jabraka, which is completely not his fault. Very unfortunate for him being pushed right there, and then once more contact in between those 2 drivers through turn 2, which then led into Jabraka spinning around and now being down in P16. He's already passed Firefox again. Don't know what happened to him. He was further up the grid as well. You can see the predicted pit stop strategy scratch that 2-stop. It's going to be an easy 1-stop. As we can see, Zane is very close to the rear end of the AlphaTauri of Damiano. But what a hectic start that was. And Kryptonite was just sitting in 3rd. Sitting behind, we've got multiple people pitting. Damiano and Zane both, and Max both heading into the pit lane. Max picking up a penalty for good measure as well. And there goes the Haas of Mobarak. And then more contact into turn 1. Ghost King was nearly around. He did very well to keep the car not only on the wall, but also on track, facing the right direction. That was pretty impressive. Who's now trying to fight back and gain that place back, at least on the McLaren, who then overtook him because of that little contact he had there with the Haas driver, but he still lost 2 positions because of that little contact there into turn 1. And it looks like the drivers have not really settled down just yet, and they're still scrapping here and there. And just a very, very unfortunate start for Jabraka, who looked so comfortable in qualifying. Now went a bit wide over the curb on the outside, and that completely ruined his run. Lost more than a second then to Zane ahead, and might get under pressure now. No, as I too far away to make a move just yet, and it looks like Kryptonite is able to extend that gap to Federspiga. Maybe he should as well, because he looked pretty aggressive on that first lap. Remember, you can't win a race on lap 1, but you can lose it. So that's exactly what happened to Jabaka. Very sad to see. I don't think he was at fault at any tiny little part in that situation. And there goes Johan into the pits. Don't quite know what happened to him. Maybe a little bit of front wing damage there for the Aston Martin driver. A horrible start, a shocking start for the British team. Let's see if everyone started on the hards. Yeah, it looks like, because all those 4 guys who had to pit on the opening laps are now on the medium tyres. But Victor, also one of the big winners with Mobarak together. Both now well inside the top 10. And Mali, also pretty good start. Same with Kieran, who's in P6. All those guys that started a bit further down have had a little bit of luck on that opening lap because of that chaos. Tonight being in the lead and extending that gap to over a second now. That's important, because the DRS is available now, and if we can immediately break away from that Red Bull behind him, he might have a lot of clear air without a car pressurizing him right behind him. And it looks like Federspiga needs to look behind him, because Rick is coming and he's looking quick. Kevin set the fastest lap of the race just then, but still 1.1 second away from Black Box in the McLaren. And there goes Rick then past Federspiga into turn 3. Looked like a rather easy move. Looks like Federspiga might have been a little bit too eager on the opening lap, and he realized that himself, so he tries to be a bit less aggressive on these opening